Rumors continue to link Sasha Banks with All Elite Wrestling, but the question is, will the boss become All Elite? Hey guys, welcome back to Wrest News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. Merry Christmas and a happy holidays. As always, there's plenty of stories and discussion and debate to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Now, of course, it's Christmas Day, so there's not a lot to get into when it comes to news. One thing we can talk about is the boss, is Sasha Banks, is Mercedes Varnado. Yesterday, we dropped the video talking about how no one really knows what's going on with the boss when it comes to All Elite Wrestling. One thing we do know is that Sasha Banks will be at Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th in the Tokyo Dome, Wrestle Kingdom 17 for New Japan Pro Wrestling. The expectation is she's going to confront Kairi after the IWGP Women's Championship defense. That's the expectation. That's certainly the plan. But what's going on with her in All Elite Wrestling? That's the real question, certainly, isn't it? Of course, the discussion, the scuttlebutt, the rumor is that she will be the partner for Saraya on January 11th in Los Angeles at the Kia Forum in that tag team match against AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. But is Sasha Banks All Elite? Well, the real response is, and this is just my opinion here, guys. This is one of these opinions. So we get a question, we discuss it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. But realistically, the answer, the official answer right now is we don't know. We don't know if Sasha Banks is going to be signing with AEW. There is optimism. I think it was Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reported that there was optimism within the AEW locker room that signing a star, the nature of Sasha Banks, would be massive for AEW, particularly the women's division, which we have seen begin to grow in importance in recent weeks, which is a massive positive because pretty much for the entirety of its existence, the women's division really hasn't meant all that much. The positioning on the card, the lack of main events, the lack of storylines, the lack of character progression has been a real black eye when it comes to AEW, but we have seen a little bit of improvement in recent weeks, and that certainly is a positive. So the thought of signing someone like Sasha Banks would be massive to AEW in terms of an anchor of the women's division. That was the quote used, wasn't it? In the AEW locker room. She'd be an anchor in really drawing ratings in and drawing eyeballs onto the women's division. Now, my personal opinion is, and I know a lot of people have said you're jumping the gun here when you say that you think Sasha Banks or Mercedes Varnado, which we will be known as, she'll be using her real name. Of course, Sasha Banks is trademarked by WWE. I've seen people say, look, Owen, you're jumping the gun. Sasha Banks, Mercedes Varnado is not going to go to AEW. Why would she go? Well, realistically, I think it's the option that makes the most sense right now. Realistically. And I'll tell you why. Let's get into the confirmation. Again, confirmed, kind of, but certainly by most outlets, she is, one, gone from WWE. According to reports, and it was first reported by Raj Giri of Wrestling Inc., shout out Raj, that she had basically negotiated her exit, her departure from WWE around this summertime. It was during the Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis regime. Of course, Sasha Banks alongside Naomi walked out in a May taping of Monday Night Raw. She and Naomi weren't happy with the presentation of the Women's Tag Team Championships, the Women's Tag Team Division, and she was frustrated in general with life as a WWE superstar. So her and Naomi went into John Laurinaitis' office, put the Women's Tag Team Championships down on the desk. They left. They walked out. And then that led to the infamous Michael Cole, Sasha Banks and Naomi let us down, and they published all of that kind of stuff, and it was all a big mess. But that was into the previous regime. Now, before Vince McMahon resigned, and before John Laurinaitis left as well, reportedly Sasha Banks negotiated her exit from the company. Her and Naomi were suspended indefinitely. Sasha Banks' contract was coming up anyway this year in 2022. And Naomi, I think, was actively negotiating a new contract at the time. And by all accounts, she negotiated a release. It was a conditional release, a conditional exit from the company, which meant basically, we'll let you go, but you can't take any pro wrestling related bookings until January 1st of 2023. Now, once she did leave the company and the changeover happened internally within WWE, Vince McMahon retired, John Laurinaitis left, Triple H assumed power, he's in charge of talent relations, he's in charge of creative. He did want to bring Sasha Banks back. Of course he did. He wants to bring everyone back. He's re-signed a plethora of people that he either worked with in NXT or were previously on the WWE roster and were released for a variety of reasons. He's trying to bring all of these names back. And one of the biggest names was Sasha Banks. By all accounts, People in WWE thought the deal was close, but the biggest sticking point was money. Cash and creative, as Jim Ross likes to say. And the biggest sticking point was that Sasha Banks wanted parity, or at least close to the same amount of money that Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch were making, the two biggest female stars in WWE. Now, I don't think they're making the two biggest amount of money for a female star. Reportedly, that's Ronda Rousey. And maybe Sasha Banks felt like, I'm not going to get Ronda Rousey money, but I can get Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair money. Certainly, I would consider her just a bigger star as Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Why not? I mean, she's done practically everything that they've done, and she's younger as well. And then that weird report came out from WWE, or sources close to WWE, saying that WWE kind of, laughed at that price point for Sasha Banks, didn't think she was worth the amount of money that Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch was, and felt like she had peaked as a star, which to me is really, really odd, considering Sasha Banks is 30 years old, which in pro wrestling terms means she's a baby, and she has so much more time left in her career, and if anything, her star is only getting bigger. Because she's in the Star Wars universe. The Mandalorian Season 3 is coming out next year. We don't know what that could expand into. We know her family ties, being the cousin of Snoop Dogg. We know that she's going to be in movies. We know she's going to be in another TV series. We know she wants to release a rap album. And a lot of people know who Mercedes Varnado is. So the idea that she's peaked as a star, to me, that sounds like WWE kind of trying to save face in a situation whereby they didn't want her to give her the money. And then she went, okay, I'll go elsewhere. So a long-winded point is that Sasha Banks, we know she's gone from WWE. So that's done, and come January 1st, she's allowed to take up pro wrestling bookings elsewhere. One of those pro wrestling bookings is with New Japan Pro Wrestling. By all accounts, she's agreed a multi-date deal with New Japan. She's going to be part of New Japan and Stardom. There's at least one Stardom date on that. What that Stardom date is, we don't know. But the general consensus is she's going to confront Kairi at Wrestle Kingdom 17. That's then going to lead to a match for the IWGP Women's Championship sometime in February. Whether that's in Japan, whether that's in the United States, we don't know. But she's got those dates with New Japan. She's got those dates with Stardom. Now, you have to remember, too, Mercedes Varnado isn't one of these talents that kind of just came to pro wrestling from another universe and then fell in love with it. Mercedes Varnado is a pro wrestling fan. She's a student of the game. She loves Japanese pro wrestling. So she probably wanted to wrestle in Japan for her entire life. Yes, she grew up being a big WWE fan, but she also grew up being a big pro wrestling fan as well. So I'm sure at some point in her career, she wanted to wrestle in Japan. So she's going to Japan. She's going to make good money doing it. But also, again, the important thing here, and this is how we tie it back into AEW, is that she's a pro wrestling fan. Now, one of the positives of AEW is that, one, they can offer her a similar amount of money to WWE. Now, they might not be able to give her the money that she was looking for in WWE, but at the same time, they're not asking for the amount of time that WWE would have been asking her for. If you're a WWE superstar, unless you're a different kind of person, a Brock Lesnar, a Roman Reigns, I mean, we're talking creme de creme de creme de creme de creme, like the top stars. You are going to have to be one of those talents that's on the road 4 or 5 days of the week. You're going to have to be at Raw tapings, possibly SmackDown tapings, and all the live events as well. Mercedes Varnado's got a lot going on at the moment. As I mentioned, she's in TV. She's in movies. She wants to get into music. She's been on fashion shows as well. So if all of that's going on, AEW can easily say to Mercedes Varnado, look, we only want you once or twice a week. You don't even have to wrestle every week as well. If you can be on the show, and again, you don't have to be on Dynamite every week. We can pre-tape stuff. God, Lord knows we do enough of pre-tapes backstage. So they can say, look, we only need you once or twice a week. Yeah, if it's a pay-per-view week or a live Rampage, it might be 2 or 3, but that's very, very rare, and you'll be compensated for that. And then Mercedes Varnado can say, well, wait a minute then. Because realistically, when you're a pro wrestler, what they're paying you for isn't to wrestle. They're paying you to travel. They're paying you to leave your home. And she might think, well, I can make less money in AEW, but at the same time, I'm not on the road 5 days a week. I'm not wrestling every single week as well. I can scratch the pro wrestling itch that clearly I want to do. I have flexibility to do these matches in Japan I've always dreamt of. I have flexibility to pursue the television and film career that I want to pursue. I have flexibility to pursue a music career as well. And I've also got weekly national television exposure at the same time. It's a win-win. So if the WWE thing is done, and clearly it feels like it is, why wouldn't she go to AEW? And frankly, whilst we haven't had any confirmation that she's going to AEW and Mercedes Varnado is All Elite, at the same time, I would say the booking always tells the story. The booking always tells the story. We saw this past week the main event of AEW Dynamite Holiday Bash was an AEW Women's World Championship match. Do you understand how rare that is? That very rarely happens in AEW. It's only happened once previously this year. That, ironically, was in the same building, in the same city, St. Patrick's Day Slam. It was Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. The fact that we can count on one hand, pretty much, the amount of time that females have main evented Dynamite is really, really sad, and it's a massive problem for AEW. I can remember, of course, Holiday Bash this past week, St. Patrick's Day Slam this year, St. Patrick's Day Slam last year. The Grand Slam edition of Dynamite technically was main evented by a Women's World Championship match between Britt Baker and Ruby Soho, but it wasn't really the main event on the show, was it? The main event was the opening match. That was Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. The reason it opened the show is because they were going to a time limit draw. That's 4 times. There might be a 5th or a 6th. I can't remember, but the fact that you can count them is an issue. It should be the norm. It should be a regular occurrence. We should regularly have females opening the show. We should regularly have women main eventing, not only TV shows, but also pay-per-views as well. It's become a regular occurrence in WWE. Now, those that point to and say, yeah, but it doesn't draw in AEW and the quarter hours say this, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When they started really pushing females on the main roster, for a while it didn't draw because the crowd, the audience inside the arena and at home weren't used to it. For years they had been told by WWE women's wrestling doesn't matter, which was a lie, which was a fallacy, but now they know that it does matter. Some of the biggest stars in WWE are its female talent. Sasha Banks is one of them, Becky Lynch is another, Charlotte Flair is another, Ronda Rousey is another. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. Bayley's another. And they regularly main event TV shows. They regularly main event premium live events. They main evented WrestleMania on multiple occasions now. Whether it was WrestleMania 35 or WrestleMania 37, in which one of them, Sasha Banks was in. She has main evented WrestleMania. So all of those people as well, this is really bizarre, that are trying to suggest that Sasha Banks isn't a star now. Oh, she's not even that big of a star. She's main evented WrestleMania. She made history when she main evented WrestleMania as one half of the first ever black female main event in WWE WrestleMania history. That's a star-making moment. People know who she is. So the point being of people trying to say, oh, she's not a big star. She clearly is a big star. But to guide it back to AEW, we need to see more of it. And it would, on one hand, be a shame that it would take AEW to have to sign a former WWE talent to get that into their brain, that they need to have females main eventing the shows more because it's 2022, and it's not a tick boxing thing. It's a thing of, no, they can be draws, they can be stars, and they can have some of the best matches on the show. Go back and watch Jamie Hayter versus Hikaru Shida this past week. It's one of the best female matches of the year in any pro wrestling company. The crowd was into it, and actually, in terms of the ratings, it drew just as well as any other match that they've done recently in terms of main events. The quarter hours didn't drop off that much, and guess what? It was fine. Go back to Full Gear, Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm, fantastic match. You know why? Because if you put them into an opportunity to succeed, they will. But you need to believe in them and you need to back them. You can't just put them in the penultimate segment before the main event towards the end of the show when the show declines as it goes on anyway in terms of ratings for a 5-minute match cold with no story and go, I wonder why it doesn't draw. Well, I guess we can't do anything else because it doesn't draw. If that happened in a male segment, you'd go, okay, let's figure out why that didn't draw and let's improve it. It's the same for the women's division. And if Sasha Banks comes into AEW, they will be forced. They'll be forced because when you put that kind of investment into a talent, you have to reap the rewards. And they will, because Sasha Banks, look, she'll draw ratings, she'll sell merchandise, and it'll be a big deal for AEW. And I think Sasha Banks at this point will have a chip on her shoulder. She negotiated with WWE first, and basically what they said to her, if the reports aren't accurate, they said, we don't think you're worth the money. Well, if that was me, I'd go, okay, you don't think I'm worth the money? Same as Chris Jericho. We don't really think you're worth the money. You had this great angle and this great storyline with Kevin Owens. It carried television for about a year. Your second match at WrestleMania, sorry. Brock Lesnar, Bill Goldberg, somebody for the Universal Championship. And then when, after all that, and he did the stuff in New Japan and showed, actually, look, I can move the needle. I got a ton of subscriptions for New Japan. I'm thinking about signing with AEW. Can you match it? Vince McMahon goes, can't match that money, sorry. And he goes, okay, I'll show you how much money I can make and how much money I can draw. And he did it. And Sasha Banks should do exactly the same. Say to WWE, say to Triple H, you didn't think I was worth it. I'll go to New Japan. I'll make them a ton of money. I'll go to AEW. I'll spark up their women's division. And guess what? I'll prove you wrong. And in a couple of years' time, maybe you might offer me the money, but maybe by that point, I don't even want to go to WWE because I've already got my footing here. So whilst we haven't heard anything, and whilst it's not official, whilst it's not confirmed, the way I look at it is it feels inevitable. Even if it's not Sasha Banks on January 11th in LA, I think it's really, really likely that she'll end up in AEW in 2023. Truly, I do. I think that if WWE have said no, then why would she revisit that table? Why would she lower her demands where she could go to AEW and get a similar amount of money for less dates and also have a chip on her shoulder? So I know other people have speculated, well, it might be Thunder Rosa. Yes, she was backstage recently at AEW Dynamite in San Antonio because that's her hometown. Reportedly, she's not expected back from her injury, from her back injury until February, March. So I think it would be surprising if it was her. And look, Saraya and Sasha Banks have history. I mean, Sasha Banks was the one that ended her career with the kick to the back in December 2017. Nearly, that's now 5 years ago, nearly to the day, pretty much. So I think it will be Sasha Banks, and I'm sure because pro wrestling, you can't keep things a secret that long. As we get closer and closer to the date, which is a couple of weeks away, I'm sure we'll find out something. I really will. At the moment, Sasha Banks is in Japan preparing for Wrestle Kingdom 17. So if we find out any more details about that, we'll let you know here on the channel. We are going to be doing a live Wrestle Kingdom 17 watch along here on the channel because actually it's quite a good time for the over here in the UK. So we'll do that. We'll do a post show. We'll talk about Sasha Banks' debut, and it's going to be an exciting time in 2023 for the women's division. But let me know your thoughts. Will Sasha Banks sign with AEW? Will she be the mystery partner for Saraya on January 11th? Will she arrive at some point later on in the year? Or will she go back to WWE? Or will she just do stuff with New Japan? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Bottom right hand corner. Have a happy holidays, and I'll speak with you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.